I am the greatest. I cannot be beat. I'm pretty. If you keep talking jive, you'll fall in fine.
Back in 1963, the world already knew of Muhammad Ali. At the moment, he was known as Cassius Clay, but he wasn't the world boxing champion yet, nor was he the greatest as he would later be called. During those times, the boxing throne was lorded over by mighty Sonny Liston, who destroyed his opponents one after another. In the not-so-distant future, the young and nimble title contender Cassius Marcellus Clay would have his chance to tame this beast, but before that fight could take place, he had to fight a little-known Brit called Henry Cooper. Cooper wasn't a bad boxer per se, but he didn't have what it takes to become world-class. His career had its fair share of victories and defeats. Ali, or shall we call him Cassius Clay, on the other hand, was crystal clear. Not a single defeat in 18 fights, 14 of which ended by knockout. He was young, only 21 years of age, fast and ambitious. Although most predicted a resounding defeat for Clay against Sonny Liston in the future, no one ever, even for a second, doubted his victory over the 29-year-old Henry Cooper. Not even Clay doubted it, relegating Cooper to the breezy opponents category. Only, as often happens, underestimating his opponent played a cruel joke with Cassius, almost allowing Henry Cooper to destroy the Muhammad Ali legend before it began.
Well, Henry Cooper's not going but 5 rounds with me.
He's not going 5 rounds.
If he goes over 5, I won't return to my country for 90 days.
For 90 days.
And if he beats me, I'll retire.
Henry Cooper, a lefty by nature, boxed right-handed. His calling cards were pressure, physical strength, and stamina. He wielded an absolutely devastating left hook, which he didn't land from the side, but rather in an arc. Unfortunately, Henry had a glaring problem, which was practically out of his control. The skin on his face was reactive to injury, which made him seem like he just came out of a 15-round meat grinder where he ate all the punches with his face, even if the fight was a quick victory. Going into the fight with Clay, Cooper was the obvious underdog, a record of 27 wins, 1 draw, and 8 defeats. Despite a considerable number of defeats, Cooper had several victories over notable opponents. For example, he defeated Zora Fawley and twice Brian London, both of whom would also go on to lose to Muhammad Ali. Henry was the champion of Britain and the British Commonwealth, defending the title 5 times in his life. At Foggy Albion, Henry was the real star. His fans loved him for his spectacular boxing and courage, as well as for being a real gentleman in and out of the ring. This was also indicated by the nickname given to Cooper by his fans, Our Henry. Back to Cassius Clay. Most of his time and energy was spent practicing for the Sonny Liston title fight, with Henry Cooper put on the back burner, since the fight promised to be a passing one anyway. Cassius even went as far as promising to end the fight in the 5th round. Clay didn't prepare for the fight and expected to win with little effort. It's not that Clay didn't know about Cooper's victories or that he didn't realize Henry was a pretty good boxer, but who was some British tramp Henry Cooper compared to the terrifying Sonny Liston? At the time, you would be hard-pressed to find a boxer who would have wanted to get in the ring with Liston, as they knew it was destined to end in an inevitable defeat. The fight with Henry Cooper became Clay's 19th fight and the first outside the United States. 9 of his previous 10 fights were won by knockout. Before the fight, Cassius told how much he loved London, how happy he was that the British had the opportunity to watch such a magnificent champion, such as himself, in action, and how sad he was that before fighting Big Ugly Bear Liston, he would have to beat up such a gorgeous lad like Henry.
Well, Henry Cooper's nothing but a tramp. He's a bum. I'm the world's greatest. He must fall in 5 rounds, but if you talk about me, I'll cut it 3.
The fight took place on June 18, 1963 at the London Wembley Stadium, which seated 35,000 people. During his weigh-in, Cassius Clay snidely remarked that, "You got a queen, you need a king. I am king." According to the official weigh-in, Ali outweighed Cooper by 21 pounds. Cooper said he wore weighted clothing and was near the light heavyweight limit. Cooper had devised his own training regimen and felt that being lighter helped him remain in the best condition of his career. Cassius Clay entered the ring wearing a purple and gold crown and a robe that bore the later famous words, "The Greatest."
And Clay has said, "I'll beat him in 5. We'll see." A lot of people think that Cooper's big chances.
From the very first second, Cooper rushed to attack Clay, operating aggressively and assertively, constantly throwing out his famous long hook. After one such strike successfully landed on Cassius, it lacerated his nose, opening a stream of blood. At one point, Clay even tried to complain to the referee about Cooper's roughhouse tactics.
And now Clay is arguing with the referee that Cooper's trying to hold him and he's getting angry.
Cooper clearly won the first round, and the crowd went crazy. The second round opened much like the first, with Cooper continuing his assault. But Clay's left jab started making regular contact with the Brit's face, opening a cut above Henry's eye. But to those who watched Cassius fights regularly, it was visible he wasn't fighting at his full strength.
Clay trying to open up his own left jab and hook. Not much right hand punching so far.
As the bell rang at the start of the third round, Cassius started building up on his aggression, now combining his strikes into combinations, landing a left hook to Cooper's head, then a right jab, deeply slashing the skin above the left brow.
He's going to have a job to get through with that eye. Sonny Liston's having a look at it. Cooper trying to nail him in the third if he can. Out of Clay, who feels that he's got it in the bag because of that eye.
By the end of the round, Clay started feeling so comfortable that he relaxed and started fooling around. One of his seconds shouted to stop fooling around, and for good reason. As the fourth round began, the blood started to cover Cooper's face, but he continued his relentless aggression, chasing Clay around the ring, who in turn continued goofing around, dancing around his opponent, and rarely throwing punches.
The fourth round, and one looks for a sign that a left hook from Cooper could really hurt this man, but apart from the opening minute, anything might happen.
By the end of the round, Cooper landed 3 jabs, forcing Cassius to retreat onto the ropes, which is where Henry landed a crushing left hook smack into Clay's jaw. With his eyes rolled back, the future world champion got knocked down.
The bell has sounded, and he's up at about 3, Clay.
The bell rang 3 seconds later. Cassius wasn't doing well. His coach, Angelo Dundee, walked the disoriented Clay to his corner. It seemed that he still wasn't sure what was going on, as Dundee managed to sit him down on the stool only on the second try. The coach rubbed cold water on Clay's face and temples and gave him smelling salt, which was against the rules, but no one protested. It was at that moment when Dundee saw that one of Cassius' gloves was ripped. Without hesitation, he signaled this to the referee. This event later was the cause of many myths and theories, some claiming that the fight was paused for almost 10 minutes, while the staff went out looking for a fresh pair of gloves, giving the American ample time to recover. In truth, the match referee quickly discussed the issue with the ringside judges and allowed the fight to continue, so the 5th round started only 4 to 5 seconds late.
Said he would beat Cooper, but now this crowd at Wembley are beginning to bay for a Cooper win. Clay on the floor at the end of the 4th, and now fighting.
Remembering that he had promised to knock out Henry Cooper in the 5th, Clay launched himself into a frenzied attack. After being knocked down by a boxer who Cassius hadn't taken seriously, he wanted to show everyone that what just happened was a fluke. Clay turned the heat to 11, landing ruthless combinations on Henry, one after another, adding strikes with his right to his already accurate jabs. It seemed like Cooper was being mauled by a crowbar, not a boxer with gloves. Finally, the referee saw that Clay turned the left side of Cooper's face into a bloody mush and stopped the fight. As Cassius Clay predicted, at exactly 2 minutes 15 seconds of the 5th round, the fight was stopped. Clay raised both hands and solemnly paraded around the ring.
It's all over in round 5, and Clay is getting bombarded with programs from angry ringsiders.
After the fight, Cassius showed respect to Cooper, dubbing him the most vicious opponent he fought, jokingly adding that Henry's not a simple tramp like I thought at first. Regarding his knockdown, Cassius Clay remarked that I had my eyes on Liz Taylor in the ringside, referencing the Hollywood star Elizabeth Taylor. Henry Cooper later recalled Clay was a bit lucky to have been standing near the ropes at the moment of impact. He then literally slid down them into the ring, and this greatly softened his fall. If he were in the center of the ring at the moment of the knockdown, Clay would fall hard on the canvas, most likely hitting his head as well. I'm pretty sure he wouldn't have gotten up then. However it happened, it doesn't change the fact that Henry Cooper lost the fight, albeit creating a brief sensation by knocking down Cassius. No one had yet given the young Cassius Clay such a competitive fight. Cooper became a national hero for the British. They believed that the point in this confrontation was not set and seriously argued that if Henry Cooper had one more fight, he could well have defeated Clay.
I'm coming to get you, Henry. I don't like the way you knocked me down the last time. No man knocks me down and get away with it. So you be ready for it. You hear? Be ready, because I'm coming to get you. And you go home and tell him that.
I'll do it, man.
I'm not joking.
The rematch occurred 3 years later. The hype surrounding the fight was massive. In those 3 years, Cassius Clay changed his name to Muhammad Ali, became the world champion, and beat the mighty Sonny Liston not once, but twice. The fights were not cut-and-dry victories, and there was some room for debate. And you'll be able to learn more about them by watching the video on our channel. After beating Liston, Muhammad knocked out the great former champion Floyd Patterson, and then won a match against the unyielding George Chuvalo on points. The second fight against Henry Cooper was to take place on May 21st, 1996, and had champion status, since if Henry Cooper beat Ali, he would become the world champion. After losing to Muhammad in 1963, the Brit fought in 5 more matches, winning 4 of them. He was ready for the next serious test of his, this time not against Cassius Clay, but against Muhammad Ali.
Well, I'll tell Henry Cooper, if he's watching this show, to come to the fight and be ready to fight, because I'm coming to get you. I'm coming to London to get you. And after I'm through beating him, I think he'll have to join the Beatles and be a singer.
The rematch once again took place in Britain, this time at the Highbury Football Arena. That night, the stadium gathered 46,000 people, which was the record for the largest number of spectators at a boxing event in the UK until November 2007. Henry Cooper was still popular, and the match with the now world champion promised to be one you wouldn't want to miss.
First punch to Cooper, just a brush on the arm, nothing dangerous there. To go forward. Left hook there, but it landed on Clay's elbow.
The opening round belonged to Ali as he glided about the ring, snapping a long left lead. But round 2 saw Cooper begin to press in earnest, cornering the champion on more than one occasion, landing a right early and a hard left hook late, and in the interim, establishing his own effective jab.
Trying to pulling on to a left hook. The champion's corner are moaning about Cooper hanging on there. I don't quite know whether they're justified. I think Cooper trying to make him stand still. Now I'm afraid that right hand hit the top rope.
If the second wasn't close, the third clearly belonged to the obstinate challenger, as he continually forced Ali to back up or clinch. The pattern continued in the fourth. Henry again succeeded in cutting off the ring, initiating some nasty business on the inside and in the clinches, getting his forearm into Ali's face and landing a few kidney punches.
Clutches, so we're getting a lot of untidy work close in.
Gathering himself, Ali finally began to exploit his reach advantage, throwing the jab with conviction and following up with sharp rights, while effectively parrying Cooper's hook. Ali was just getting warm in round 4.
Really turning the pressure on. And repeated left hands there without reply from Clay.
The fifth saw Ali dancing, but with Cooper again out-jabbing him, though the Englishman was openly frustrated by his inability to get the champion to stand still for a second.
Or a championship fight. The first really inside work that we've seen in the fight. Cooper's left hooks in there. He's waiting for a break. Perhaps it's like a middleweight without drawing a laboured breath.
After 5 rounds, it could have been concluded that the fight was even. Henry tried and put on a good fight, and Ali also looked much faster, sharper, and just simply better than in their first match. It all ended in the 6th. Early in round 6, the gutsy challenger bull-rushed Ali into a corner and paid for his aggressiveness by getting tagged with a snapping counter right, the blow tearing open his left eyebrow. The injury, which later required 16 stitches, was immediately visible to all, the blood flowing copiously down the side of the challenger's face. Realizing the match might be stopped at any moment, Cooper stormed after Ali as the huge crowd roared. The champion responded by finally opening with the heavy artillery, landing a series of right hands and seizing full control of the action. The challenger never stopped winging shots, but Ali's blows were the ones landing cleanly. Unfortunately for Henry, the referee decided to stop the fight.
So it's all over. The great disappointment for Henry Cooper.
Just as in the first match, the match was over due to a deep laceration. Henry was furious, while the audience applauded. For his bravery, daring, and quality of technical training, he received a standing ovation. Following the night, Muhammad Ali told the press he had never faced a braver man, nor a more difficult opponent.
And I feel bad that the fight had to end the way it did with him bleeding so badly, and it's taken me a while to get over it because it was an awful sight.
Rumors circulated that after the defeat, Cooper may leave boxing, but fortunately, he continued his career, going on the best run of his life, defending the champion of Britain and the British Commonwealth 3 more times, and winning the European heavyweight title in September of 1968. For his extraordinary accomplishments in boxing, Henry Cooper was knighted in 2000. Muhammad Ali couldn't make it to the ceremony in person due to health problems, but called in and congratulated Cooper on the phone, jokingly offering to have a 3rd fight, to which Henry, not holding back his laughter, agreed. Cooper was never a world champion, but he did manage to show up for 2 excellent fights and managed to knock down not just some random boxer, but one of the best fighters in the history of the sport. Henry Cooper absolutely deserves to be remembered.